This is part 4 of chapter number 11. And in the last part, we discussed about the short run and the long run effects of IS shock. And for this, we made use of both the ISLM framework, which you can see in the top panel, and we made use of the aggregate demand and aggregate supply curve, which you see in the top on the bottom panel. Now, the advantage of using the ISLM framework is that it will help us to figure out what will happen to interest rate and output level as a result of the policy shift in both the short and the long run. And similarly, the bottom panel is going to help explain what will happen to price and output level in both the short and the long run as a result of this policy change. Now, what is interesting about this particular case is that it quite depicts what the world is going through in the current times. What we are seeing is that because of the pandemic, the world consumption is going down, investment is declining, tax revenues have declined. So because of all these factors working in unison, this would result in the IS curve to shift downwards. ठीक है, ये जो मैंने जितने भी factors अभी गिनवाए हैं, they directly affect the demand for goods and services. So as a result, the IS curve is going to shift downwards. So what we see as a result is that our interest rate is declining, okay? And the world output is actually falling below the full output level. That is, our economy is actually, or the world economy, to put it more precisely, it's now being pushed into recession. Okay? We are seeing exactly this phenomena right now. Okay? Because of the decline in the IS shock, the interest rates are falling. आप देख सकते हैं पाकिस्तान में आए दिन खबरें आती रहती हैं कि the interest rates have been, the state bank is actually cutting down the interest rates. So we are seeing this phenomena of decline in interest rate and decline in our output level. Over time, prices के हवाले से होगा ये कि you can see that since the output level is now below the natural range of output level, this is going to put a downward pressure on prices. And we have started to see this phenomena. If prices have actually been pushed down, you can see that the oil prices are falling, and because of decrease in oil prices, prices of other commodities is also declining. So as the price decline, you're going to experience that the LM curve is going to shift rightwards, and the process is going to continue until the LM curve intersects the IS curve at Y bar, and that actually corresponds to this point at the bottom of the panel. Okay? So in the long run, what you'll notice is that the price have been permanently pushed downwards and output level is back to Y bar, whereas if you look at the IS model, you can see that in the short run, interest rates decrease, and in the long run, they further decrease until we are back at Y bar. Okay, so हमने ये case detail में पढ़ा था in the last part. Now let's do an exercise here. Now in this particular slide, what you can see here is that you're required to draw the ISLM and the aggregate demand and aggregate supply diagrams. Okay, so these diagrams for your assistance have already been drawn. It's nothing very new. You can see that on the top panel we have the ISLM framework. The only additional thing is that I've drawn the long run aggregate supply curve on this model because I'm assuming that at this equilibrium, output is equal to the natural rate of production level. So I'm just stretching the long run aggregate supply down in the second panel, and you can see that where these three curves intersect, that is where the long run aggregate supply curve cuts the aggregate demand curve, and at this point, short run aggregate supply, the easy point we cut hoga because prices have adjusted at this point. So this is my initial equilibrium. Okay, so the top and the bottom panel, it basically shows equilibrium in its initial position. Now let's see what happens here. Now suppose that the Fed, it increases M, and as a result, you have to show the short and the long run effects on the graph. So you can see that this LM curve has been drawn for a particular money supply, and it has been drawn for a particular price level. M ke increase hone se, this is going to directly affect my LM curve, because when M changes, something is going to change in the money markets, in the market for money. Okay? Therefore, the LM curve shift hoga is case mein. Exactly will the shift be rightwards and leftwards? Isko figure out karne ke liye, it's best that you go back to slide number 2, where you can see this equation clearly. इधर आपको IS and LM कर्व दोनों जो है ना ये बनाए गए हैं आपके सामने. So what we are experiencing now is that let's suppose M is increasing. So when M is going to increase, the real money supply is going to increase. In order to maintain equilibrium, the money demand should also increase, and the way that this is going to increase is that it's going to increase by decreasing the interest rate. So how does this translate on this diagram here? आप देख सकते हैं for the same y, ठीक है, यहाँ मैंने y नहीं तब्दील किया, for the same y, and you can take any focal point which in this case is taken to be y1, let's suppose. So for the same y, interest rate अब पहले के मुकाबले में कम है. So you can see that when money supply increases, this is going to result in a rightward shift in the LM curve. Okay. So coming back to our question here. So suppose that the Fed, it increases M, show the short and the long run effects. So I've just figured out that when M increases, the LM curve is going to shift outwards. So this new LM curve जो मैंने बनाया है, this has been drawn. Okay, so there's no confusion. I can write it down. This LM curve has been drawn for the new money supply, which I'll call it to be M2, and it has been drawn for the same price level, which is P1. ठीक है, prices यहाँ अभी फिलहाल तब्दील नहीं हुई. So you can figure it out that the new equilibrium now occurs at this point here, where the new LM curve cuts the IS curve. So you can see that at this new equilibrium, this is the new output level. So this is the new output level, and you can see for yourself that this output level is more than the natural rate of production. So here the economy is producing more than its full potential. अच्छा, अब आप देख सकते हैं कि for the same, now you can see as a result of increase in M, what will happen to the aggregate supply and aggregate demand framework. This is easy to see. आप देख सकते हैं कि at the same price level, ठीक है, aggregate demand, remember, it's a relationship between price and output. So here I'm not changing the price level, but what you see is that when money supply is increasing, for the same price level, Y is increasing. ठीक है? So for the same price level P1, Y increases. So this is going to translate into a rightward shift in the aggregate demand curve. ठीक है? थोड़ा सा इसको consistent बना लेते हैं. So pushing this line over here. So you can now see for yourself that I'll just stretch this line down here. So this is the new, ठीक है, ये जो है इसको मैं let me just draw it freehand. So आप देख सकते हैं कि यहाँ जो है ना output level is more than the natural rate of output level. So the new output level here is actually Y2. So let me just, so this is Y2 over here. So what you see here is that in the short run, interest rate is going to decline, okay, from this original position to this new position. In the short run, output is going to increase. In the short run, price is going to remain the same. Yeah, I explained to you that when you are producing more than your full potential, this is going to put an upward pressure on prices. Yes, so when price is going to increase, figure out what is going to happen to the LM curve now. Okay, for this, again, I'm going to go back to slide number 2. So this is coming back to this diagram here. Now, let me just rub the extra things so that what I'm going to do next will become clearer to you people. अच्छा, अब हो ये क्या रहा है कि since you're producing, since the economy is being in the economy, the resources are being overutilized. You're producing more than the output, the natural rate of output level. This is going to put an upward pressure on the prices. ठीक है? So you can figure out कि जब prices increase होती हैं, what will happen to the real money balance? The real money balance or the real money supply is going to decline. So in order to restore equilibrium, interest rate will have to increase. क्योंकि मुझे पता है कि जब interest rate increase होगा, money demand fall करेगी. So diagrammatically, how does this translate into? You can see that for the same y, which is y1, interest rate is now going to be higher. So आप देख सकते हैं कि जब prices increase होंगी, तो LM curve ऊपर की तरफ shift होगा. ठीक है? Now coming back to our question again. So फिलहाल कहाँ तक कहानी पहुंची थी कि let's suppose M increases, LM curve shifts down. ठीक है? So we are now producing more than our full potential. This is going to put an upward pressure on prices. So when prices are being pushed upwards, आप देख सकते हैं कि LM कर्व ऊपर की तरफ दोबारा शिफ्ट करेगा और ये प्रोसेस तब तक चलेगा until we are back to this point है. Okay? So नीचे अगर हम देखें prices तब तक increase होंगी जब तक we are back to this new equilibrium. So in chapter number 9, we also saw that when there is a aggregate demand shock in the short run, when there is a positive aggregate demand shock, in the short run we move from A, but we're going to move from this point here, let's call this A, to point B. And in the long run, we're going to move to point C. So आप देख सकते हैं long run में prices are going to be permanently higher and output is back to its original level, which is Y bar. Whereas interest rate की अगर हवाले से बात की जाए, the short run interest rates fall from this level here to this level down here, but over time, because of increase in price level, we're again back to the original level of output. ठीक है? So ये जो आपका जो ये जो नया वापस जब हम आ जाएंगे ना, the new LM curve is going to be drawn for a higher price level. ठीक है? यहाँ जो है ना M मतलब this the new LM curve आप देख सकते हैं कि it has been drawn मतलब कि जो ना since we are the new price level is going to be this P2. ठीक है? Upward adjust हो गई है ना prices, तो ये जो LM curve है ना जो prices ऊपर तब तक जाएंगे जब तक P1 is equal to is P2. ठीक है? So this basically this framework, both the diagrams, it actually shows you the transition of interest rate and output level, the transition of price and output level in both the short run and the long run as a result of increase in money supply. Similarly, using the same framework, you can also figure out what is going to be the effect of shocks in the IS curve in both shocks in what will be the long run and the short run effects of shocks, because what are the short and the long run effects of shocks in the IS curve onto the LM IS model and on the aggregate demand and aggregate supply model.